I'd like to begin by welcoming everyone to the Fall 2013 New England School of Theology Conference, Does Truth Exist? Our Culture in Crisis. We have a few administrative items to first cover. First of all, I want to thank a few critical people who made this thing work. There's my wife, Grace. She helped with getting the word out. You should have met her at the registration table. Rich Giordano, he's up in the booth. Bruce Colgate, his wife, Rhonda, and all of them are responsible for the techie type things. Again, mysterious and unknown to me, but they are making it work, and I thank them for their generous offer of time and effort. There's Dr. Ray Penoyer, who is here, and he'll be one of the speakers, but he was instrumental in getting out the word with email blasts. By the way, let us know about if you received the email blasts. If not, make sure that we have your email so we can keep you up to date with things we do with the school and conferences and so forth. There's Chip Anderson. He was helpful on the planning side and deciding on this topic. And our speakers you will meet shortly. Great lineup today. And then finally, I'm grateful to Trinity for allowing us to use this beautiful facility and venue. It's my home church, and again, just grateful for all that they have done as well. Now, have you registered? You probably couldn't get by my wife without registering. That's a very important thing. So we have, in the end, a head count for lunch. It's one of those things, if you don't register, you don't eat. So we want to make sure that we have that all cleared up. Secondly, so you probably have a sense of the lay of the land. There were bathrooms out in the lobby. The fellowship hall is where we'll have lunch. So you go back out to the lobby, just take a left, and you will find the fellowship hall. And we have some coffee there as well. Our conferences are intended to be user-friendly. It's wide open here, friends. You could ask questions, obviously, at the end of each designated speaker's time, but do ask them. Again, our goal is that we serve you today, and we can't think of a better way to do that than say our piece and let you say yours and have that dialogue. Let me see if I could advance our slides and show you sort of our lineup today, which is more or less in the brochure that we handed out, our little pamphlet. But so I'll give a few introductory remarks. We're going to then move to Joe Gulsvig. I'll tell you a little bit about him in a moment. And then Dr. Dwayne Kellogg. We'll have a break at about 10, maybe a little after that time. We'll have lunch in the neighborhood of 12 to 12:30, a couple more speakers in our afternoon program, and then finally a panel discussion. We should end, I'm going to say about 2 to 2:25. The reason why it moves around a little bit is, again, partly because of you. You might have some questions. We might run a little late as well. Any questions with any of that? I think it's kind of straightforward. Bathrooms are, again, right out in the lobby off to the right. So, downstairs. And there are bathrooms downstairs as well. Anything else? Okay, so let me start with just a couple of thoughts, and we're going to get right to our speakers. How did we decide on this subject? We'll sort of start there. It seems like it's almost an absurd question to ask. Does truth exist? It's almost like self-evident. Well, of course, we, with the school, we get together and we kind of kick things around. What are we going to talk about? What should we do at the conference? Who do we get? And all of those good questions. But what's important to understand is we're sort of taking a little bit of a wide-angle view. What's going on in the culture? How does the culture view things? What are they saying? What are they writing? What's on television? What about music? And as we looked at it, we said, okay, let's step back and ask some basic questions with the things we're viewing, reading, and seeing. And what sort of distilled up from that was a very significant and serious question about truth. How do people view the truth? What do they think about what is true? Of course, this gets into, among other things, the Christian faith. And we're going to spend some time with that. We're going to spend some time with advertising and the things that we learn sort of through those channels and venues. We're going to learn a little something about science and see, well, how do scientists look at things as well? So there's quite a bit going on that we'll look at today. One of the things that sort of pushed all this in a particular direction, I was at a family party, probably where I do some of my best interaction with people that have questions about the faith. So my brother-in-law, he went ahead and said to a friend that he invited as well, he said, well, this is my brother-in-law John, and he's a scientist and he's a pastor. And I quickly said, no, look, I'm not a pastor, and the guy it was done, the toothpaste is out of the tube, and he said, pastor, scientist, I see. And so the discussion went forward from there. And again, while I tried to do a little backtracking on that, it didn't really help. But I did learn from him that he was a banker. Eventually, the discussion got into the place where he started to tell me a little bit about his background. Turns out he had left the church many years before, and, well, for various reasons. And then we got into those sort of eternal questions. What happens when you die? Is there a heaven and hell and all of that? And he said, well, I think it's this way. When you die, you go up and you meet the big man in the sky, and if you're good, you're in, and if you're not good, well, you're out. And I said, well, that's interesting, but where did you get that from? And he said, well, I think that all religions say that. And I said, yes, but you heard that from somewhere. Where'd you get it from? And he says, well, I just believe it to be that way. Now, afterwards, I thought a little bit more about that, and I said, well, of course, that's an interesting perspective, but I wonder, is the same thinking that he applies to, say, banking, in that he needs a lot of justification before giving a loan, did he apply that same thinking to questions of eternal life? Well, clearly he did not, because if you've ever gotten a bank loan, you know they need that much justification. They need your phone number, where you live, your firstborn. They need all of this stuff, and unless they have it, you don't get a loan. But with him, when he thought about eternal life and these matters, it was just sort of whatever kind of came down the pike, and he put together an assembly of various ideas and thoughts. Well, he's not alone. It turns out that many Americans have various and a variety of views. For example, in a Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, 92% of Americans believe in God. 70% say that many religions can lead to eternal life. 25% believe in an impersonal force. 60% believe in abortion, a couple more things. 50% believe in aliens. 19% believe in witchcraft. And my personal favorite, 18% believe the sun revolves around the earth. So, you see, people hold to various views. It's not our place even to say, oh, is one view good or one view not good? The question is, how did they come to believe these things? That sort of is what is the driver for our discussion today. We're opening a door, in fact, to a very important area. How do you examine, or how should one examine the things that they believe? And this brings us to a very important point. Is culture in a kind of truth crisis? And not necessarily because of what they believe, but how they come to believe it. And what we'd like to do is introduce you into thinking about this. And as you perhaps share your faith, as you speak with others, we might give you a tool chest of things to use to that end. So what I'd like to do is